So when I first decided that, or when we first decided that we're going to move abroad, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about people already done it. And one of the threads were like they talked about how they fell in love with a certain city, how they loved the buildings or just the city itself, the vibe, all of that. And I think that I thought that that was going to make something feel like home. And lately, I've been thinking a lot about what makes a place really feel like home. And while this is definitely relevant for someone who's thinking about moving abroad, especially with a family to consider. I think any of us living anywhere should tap into what home is for us, what feels like home. And for me, I have realized surprisingly that it might not just be a place, the physical location. So let's talk about it. I have lived in quite a few places in the States. I've lived in New York, grew up there, raised in the Bronx, went to school in Manhattan and Harlem, met my boo in Brooklyn. So I was, frequent in Brooklyn. I have lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I've lived in the North. I've lived, north of Atlanta, south of Atlanta. I have visited a number of states and Ohio, Chicago, New Mexico, DC, Virginia, Maryland, Florida, different spots in California. And I've been to Spain. I've been to Turks and Caicos, Caribbean islands, Aruba. And so much of everything that I've seen has been beautiful and exciting and vibrant and fun. And even here, being in Panama, same. And then I went to Costa Rica for my birthday. For those of you who've been following my journey, and the view from the mountains, I felt like I was in a Bob Ross painting. Okay, if you know, you know, it was gorgeous. And I and there was a point where I was like, "Am I something's up with me?" Because even in these beautiful, gorgeous places, vibrant, I can see myself moving. Not like there, but like if I live there, I could see myself being like, okay, I'm okay to move. I started to contemplate what home was because of that. Because I'm like, I hear so many people talk about falling in love with a specific city or a specific country, or usually a specific city or countryside within that country or that state, and they don't want to leave because there's something that that city gives to them that they can't get anywhere else, and they feel that. And for me, I feel like I could live in most places if I have certain things and I'm not necessarily attached to the place itself, even if it's gorgeous, even if just looking out into the ocean or out into the mountains and a beautiful lake just resets my whole nervous system. I'm like, I can only live here if. Now, I might look back on this video, it might not age well, and be like, Imani, you just hadn't met the right city yet. And that could be very possible. But where I am right now, I'm like, I need my family, and my family isn't the whole end all be all, the everything, even though they're very important. My spouse and my children, I also need community. I need people that feel like I can trust, that I feel comfortable around, that I feel like we understand and get each other on some kind of level. And we can have really deep conversations and we have really stupid conversations and we can laugh and we can break bread and we can enjoy each other's company. I need to be in a space that does reset my nervous system, does have an energy that feels comfortable. And I found that you can find that in most places, right? There's just pockets, there's different energies in different spaces within the same city or within the same, state. I would like to have really good food, like prepared food, right? So good food in terms of ingredients, produce, fruits, vegetables, and then a really good gastronomy. I didn't start using that word till I became international, but a really good gastronomy, a really good just variety of tasty foods. Growing up in New York, I think I got spoiled with that, and I was like, well, okay. need that because I enjoy food. Food is something that brings me joy. I love eating good food by myself or with good people. It's a whole experience, and I love that for me. I need a place where I feel as if I have spaciousness to create. I need that. And I'm saying I need a place, and I feel like I shouldn't say it in that way. I need to be able to have spaciousness to create, feel that inside where it's not a battle, where, as my friend Samara would say, it's easeful, right? To be able to create and feel like you have the space to be able to do that. And there's maybe a scene for it, maybe not, but I feel that inside where being social and moving about is convenient and also not laborious. I think I'm looking, I'll ease around certain things in terms of like just day to day movement and a place where I know my kids can thrive, right? So there's spaciousness for them to move around, and there's access to things that they're interested in so that they can continue to explore those interests and lean into those interests. And I'm like, no matter where I am, if I'm able to cultivate those things, I feel like I can feel like I'm at home. Now, one area in which I'm sure at some point, or I hope at some point, this may be tested. I may be tested in this, is I I like that I'm here in Panama and I don't feel like an outsider. Until I open my mouth, even though I speak some Spanish, right? I always start my conversations with folk like, yo hablo un poquito de español, pero voy a intentar. Like, I speak a little Spanish, but I'm gonna try. And they're always like, you speak more than you think you do. However, I don't want you to start speaking very quickly or cutting off the words. I want you to know that, estoy aprendiendo. I'm learning and I'm using the language all the time, every day. But until I open my mouth and they realize that Spanish is not my first language, I don't just stick out as a foreigner or outsider here. I blend in. I could very well be from here. They don't know. I like that. And there are places and countries and cities that I know that we want to explore as a family where I am going to stick out. I don't feel now, and I don't know if I can call a place like that home. I like feeling like I could belong here and I don't readily look like an outsider before I even open my mouth. Just from looking at me, you're like, oh, not her. You're not from here. For exploration, yes. For living, for calling a place home, I don't know. We shall see. Time will tell, right? I'm open, so we'll see. But right now, that's how I feel. And so having a place where I can blend in, where I don't stick out just by my appearance in that way, I like that. And that feels homey to me because that feels like a sense of belonging in a way, even if I haven't found that community yet. And I've just realized that these are things that are important to me. I also realized that so often we feel like home is one place. But I am realizing for me, home is a collection of these elements. And I can most likely cultivate some semblance of these elements in multiple places. And thus, I feel as if I can actually call multiple places home. I don't know if I think that I'm going to have one home in this sense in terms of physical location, that I can see myself being in multiple places that cultivate this space and call maybe a few places home. If Panama's a home base, maybe we have two or three more home bases that feel really good to us. And we can move about those spaces and feel like we're at home and then travel and explore and then come back to some space that feels like home. Not necessarily because of the layout or the architecture itself, but because of what it feels like to be in that space and have those elements that I mentioned. Now, this isn't knocking somebody who's like, look, architecture and all of that means a lot to me. That is waking up and seeing that every day is important. And I'm a very visual person. And so again, this video may not may not hold up in a few years. I may be like, y'all, remember a few years ago when I made that video? This is an update. This is an update. But right now, I'm like, there's so many beautiful places. I feel inspired by a lot of things. And I feel like I can have all these pieces. I don't think that I think also, this is my little asterisk, right? For someone who may feel differently. And I welcome that it is the physical place, the location, the physicality of it. And that's what makes it feel like home. I don't think I'm ever attached to a place. I remember my mom sold our childhood apartment. I grew up there, you know, my whole life, all of my childhood memories. I still have vivid memories in that apartment, and just of the color of the carpet. It was like forest green. I guess that was in then. And just what our fireplace looked like and what it looked like when my parents renovated it. And, the stupid arguments I would get in with my brothers there, like sitting at the dinner table, hiding my peas in a napkin and throwing in the garbage and thinking my mother wouldn't find it, but she did. Like all of those childhood memories, I still hold them. And they happen in that place. And when my mom sold it, I was like, cool, yeah, do that. That's good. And I think there was a slight expectation or thinking that I would feel some kind of, mourning for the apartment itself, that it was not there anymore. But I really didn't. I could let go of the place, the physical place, and still keep the memories. Since my husband and I started living together back in 2011 in Atlanta, we had our first apartment. We have lived, including where we are right now, if we include now, this is our seventh address. This is our seventh address. We have moved a lot. We've never really felt like we had to stay in a specific place. And I've never really felt an attachment. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss this. It was nice being in this neighborhood. It was great having these neighbors. But nothing really anchors me to a place where I feel like I can't move on to some other place. Yeah. And I might need to marinate that on that a little bit. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, right? But I think it can be important for us to be retrospective about where something is coming from and what we're thinking about it, and why we're thinking about it in that way. Like, for example, I don't think there's anything wrong that I don't have attachment to physical place, or I don't feel that attachment necessarily, because I think that has allowed me to not be completely afraid to explore in the way that we're doing right now, and to say like, oh, we can leave all the things. Like, I'm not attached to this house even that we bought 3 years ago, like, let's just go. I don't know if I would have done that if I was really anchored to place and space, even though my kids had a lot of wonderful memories in that house. My son still talks about that house, to my surprise. He's 3 going on 4. I'm like, what, you still think about that house and how he used to drive his Power Wheel around? But I love that he has that memory. And I think that memory is important. And he's building memories here too. So yeah, I think what I would like to leave with is just the how revealing it could be to take the time to think about what home is for us and what home feels like. There's lots of sayings: home is where the heart is. You might feel home is where your family is. And what else? Because part of the reason Atlanta felt like home is because my brother was there with his wife and my only niece, and my only niece from my siblings. And even if we didn't see each other all the time, there was a beautiful thing in that my father was there and he could see my kids all the time, and we could spend time together, especially after my mom passed. Having him there was important. And yet now I'm here and I'm not there in Atlanta, even though those places, those elements felt like home, because I took this chance that I was going to be able to build elements here that felt like home, or at least try and see. And then if it didn't, then I could find some place that did. So, what else outside of this is where our heart is leading us, or this is where our family is. What about where you are right now feels like home? What about it maybe doesn't feel like home? And having that conversation with ourselves and with our partners can be really revelatory and important when we're thinking about where we want to spend our time and where we want to spend our energy and where we want to spend our resources and our money and all of it. So, yeah, that's what I have for today. I'm Imani Aisha. Thank you so much for listening, for joining in the conversation with me. If something resonated with you or you want to share some elements, some bullet points of what home is for you or what makes a place feel like home, drop it in the comments. I would love to converse with you there and keep things going. If these kind of conversations on how we can have deeper and more feel good relationships with ourselves and our partners mixed in with some real life in real time commentary, insights, and lessons that I'm learning in this very new process of moving abroad with my family. If those kinds of conversations are your vibe, please subscribe and continue to go on this journey with me. We're having real conversations over here. Sometimes they're not always wrapped up in a neat bow, but I feel like they're always going to make us think. They're always going to make us and myself really tap into some things that maybe we haven't thought about before. That is my hope. That is my goal. So thanks for spending this time. I appreciate you, and I'm gonna see you tomorrow.